Classes are here to stay in Dead Rails, and while they've only existed for a handful of weeks, we've gotten 17 unique classes that do everything from letting you revive your teammates to literally eating rotting corpses. And of course, just about everything in between. But with a ton of balance changes since my last class tier list, and 4 brand new classes as of yesterday, I think it's well worth coming back and seeing all of the classes ranked on a brand new tier list. So join me today to find out which classes are worth your hard-earned bonds, and which ones you shouldn't even think once about. And hey, we're trying to hit 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you want to see more videos just like this, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. But enough yap, it's video time. The horse class was added on April Fools and was just unlocked by beating the horse in a round game mode. A nightmare all in its own right, but it's a really pointless class. It's basically like having no class, but with really awkward movement and having the ability to stack people on your back if you so choose with saddles. Other than that, it's a pretty pointless class. It's just some dumb fun with your friends. I literally can't give it anything higher than a C tier. It's just dumb fun. Doctor will more than likely be most people's first class. It's super cheap, it gives you some starting healing items, and it's a decent addition to have on a team during the earlier parts of the game. While it is a really great class for newer players, and especially in solo games, bandages and snake oils are super easy to come across, so it's not super useful in multiplayer, or for players that really have a good bit of playtime. Plus, other classes are just kind of more worthwhile to save for, but I think B tier is a pretty solid place for this class. The Miner class is another one that is super cheap and can be really great for solo runs. You get a helmet that lets you see in the dark, and it can really save you in places like the Sterling Mine. But since it was added, buildings now all have lanterns in them, limiting the helmet's usefulness whenever you're exploring, though the pickaxe that you spawn with lets you mine ores super quickly that are along the railroad tracks, letting you get plenty of extra gold, silver, and coal along your journey pretty quick. Plus, the starting coal is also a nice bonus, so I think honestly it's a pretty good A tier. I think you'd be hard pressed to disagree with that. The Musician, or Music Man as I like to call him, is one of the brand new classes, and frankly, one of the most useless classes in the entire game. Basically, what this class allows you to do is be the doctor, but if everyone hated you. Effectively, what it allows you to do is heal your teammates with the lovely tunes that you play with the banjo. Very slowly. Not to mention that you spawn with nothing but a banjo, no melee, just a top hat and a banjo. A very stylish top hat though, I might add. After about 5 seconds of trying to heal your teammates though, they'll probably rather lose all their HP and die, rather than hear you blast the banjo for 20 minutes instead. It heals for like 0.01 health. It's so bad. Don't waste your bonds. Your teammates and your own ears will thank you. D tier all day. I recently did what I'd like to call the Pyro Challenge, which is getting 100 Molotovs and trying to beat the game with nothing but those. And honestly, it gave me a slightly new respect for an otherwise really bland and kind of pointless class. However, I do have some opinions here. I know, your favorites. While Arsonist does double fire damage and spawns with 4 Molotovs, it's not enough. Not just in terms of the double damage, but not enough Molotovs. And if you want more Molotovs, they're $35 a piece. My God, the greed of the general store owner knows no bounds. If they were like 10 to 15, I'd say Arsonist is at least a B tier, maybe even an A tier. But I can't go with anything above C just because the purpose is so specific and is drowned out by the insane cost of using said class's ability. Yet another brand new class is Necromancer, a really cool concept. It basically gives you a 25% chance to reanimate dead bodies that'll fight for you if you kill them with a melee. However, I do have some issues with this class. First of all, melees are just flat out awful in the current version of Dead Rails. They do way too little damage, and even the harder to get ones I feel are kind of terrible. If they like doubled all current melee damage, that would be great. But more specifically about this class, 25% chance is an okay chance to revive dead bodies if you kill them with melees. But honestly, I wish it was closer to maybe 30% just because of how rarely you're going to be using a melee in this game. But I feel like that is kind of splitting hairs a bit. Melees just need to do more damage, then this class would be a lot more viable. So until that happens, I think B tier is going to be the highest I can give it. The Packmaster is yet another niche but super interesting class here, and it's also brand new to Dead Rails. But while niche, it's free. Not free to buy the class, of course. It does cost bonds. But the weapons of this class are free, that being 3 wolves that you start off with. Now, they don't live all too long, they don't do all too much damage, but what makes this class actually really good to me is going to be the fact that wolves, if they bite you out in the wild, become tamed and will fight for you, allowing you to build an army of wolves super fast. I think this is just a really cool and unique concept. And while a lot of people may disagree with me, I'm gonna have to go with a solid A tier on this. It's like if the Arsonist could just summon Molotovs. Conductor went from actual zero to beyond hero, and one of the recent updates having its only major nerf removed from the game. This class basically lets you drive the train a lot faster than normal, though you do spawn with no melee, but in the melee's place you get some extra starting coal. It formally cut your HP in half just to play this class, which I thought was really stupid. We don't have that anymore though. It's basically just a straight speed buff on the train. Great for solo games, great for speed running, great for multiplayer lobbies. Anything but an A tier would be an actual sin. Welcome back, Conductor. Highroller is a weird one, but a class that I think a lot of people really do adore. You basically get 1.5x the money from bags, so effectively a 50% increase in money, at the cost of having a 10 times chance of getting struck by lightning. But just like, stay inside during lightning? I thought we were all doing that anyways. Honestly, it's just free extra money. Literally, just get one of these dudes on your team, have them pick up all the money bags themselves, and they can just buy everything for your team super quick. I think it's pretty deserving of our first S tier on the list. Cowboy is basically the pistol game pass, but also with a free horse. That's basically it. You get a revolver, a tamed horse, some ammo, and you can pretty much just begin your journey from there. It just kind of gets things in the early game going a bit quicker, so I think A tier is a fantastic position for this to be in. It also does help if you're doing the Pony Express challenge, so just keep that in mind if you're looking to do that one. The last of the new classes is going to be the Werewolf, a super interesting class, and I think it's going to become a lot of people's favorites. You basically get double speed, double damage, and double health, only though whenever it's dark. However, with the debuff of having a 0.9 times multiplier on all these stats during the day, meaning you get 10% less overall stats in favor of double overall stats during the night. There's not much that I can say about this class other than it's super busted for nighttime survival, and I really can't go any lower than an S tier. You just have to try this class if you haven't already. The Alamo used to be my favorite class. You get 3 barbed wire and 3 metal sheets. Basically enough armor to last you for the entirety of a single run, especially if you're not wanting to focus a lot on finding stuff for your train and armoring everything up long term. And while I do still think it's a fantastic class, it's not nearly as OP as I had maybe treated it before, or at least with the other class options that we have now. I do wish I could go between A and B, but because its usefulness isn't as crazy as it was maybe whenever classes were first added to the game, I think it might be B tier. The Priest class is similar to the Arsonist class, with 4 weapons given to you at the start, that being 2 Holy Waters and 2 Crucifixes. These weapons, while great, are super rare to come by. However, these weapons are not the point of the class, unlike the Arsonist. The main reason that you'd play with this class is for its buff, which is complete immunity to lightning. Now, I don't think it's super hard to avoid lightning, just don't go outside when there's lightning. It's not that hard. I'd say that it is a little bit niche, but it can be pretty useful in some really specific circumstances. So I think B tier is okay. Is that all right? I think so. If you disagree with me, you can yell at me in the comments. I understand. Vampire may just be one of the best and most unique classes in all of Dead Rails, letting you have increased movement speed and melee damage. However, you do take damage in sunlight. So basically, if you're outside of a building or a train, you just start burning. Though you do get a vampire knife to start with, which is actually super unique in its own right, letting you heal by doing damage with it. It's a really fast and fun playstyle that you can even do during the day with just using the vampire knife as your main weapon. And while at first I really didn't like this class, I really do like this class now, and I find myself playing it a lot more than I would have imagined otherwise. Actual S tier, please don't be mad. Zombie is probably a lot of people's least favorite class, and while they did attempt to buff it, since it was actually super cheeks whenever it first came out, it's still just not there. Basically, how this class works is instead of being able to use traditional medical items like bandages or snake oil, you can eat dead bodies. They heal you for about 10% of your health, and while, yeah, you could definitely get a nice chunk of zombies going and just start munching, it's way too situational to really count as a proper feature, at least to me. The only thing about this class that I really think is decent to me, though, is the fact that you are less detectable by zombies, meaning you have to be a lot closer for them to notice you, and it can be really good for raiding things like towns if you just want to loot like specific buildings. I think it's a decent feature, but the trade-offs to me just really aren't worth it, so I can't go any higher than C tier. I'm sorry. Even that might be a bit high for some people. Survivalist, on the other hand, may just be a lot of people's favorite class, and for good reason. It has a real simple premise. Less health equals more overall damage. That's it. It sounds super simple, but in practice, it's actually really helpful if you get caught in a situation with low health, letting you shred everything around you, or if you're just a risk taker and just want to play with perpetually low HP to give yourself that huge damage advantage. Plus, hey, free tomahawk. I'm really unsure of where to put this because I don't have a ton of playtime with it, so do I go S tier? Do I go A tier? If you think it's S tier, it's S tier. Ironclad is our last class on the list, and yet another class that we've seen get an attempted buff, going from having a 20% speed decrease having it equipped to just a 10% speed decrease. Now, what do we get in return for losing 10% of our overall speed? Well, we start with full armor. Super useful or kind of a gimmick? Well, let's see about that. Armor is pretty expensive, costing somewhere around $425-ish in game for a full set. So yeah, it definitely does save you money in the short term. However, it's really simple to save up the money if you take your time looting, and you get lucky with some of the general stores having the armor. And in all honesty, I don't think the speed decrease is really worth it overall, unlike on something like the Werewolf, which we just talked about a second ago. It's a good class if you're just an absolute damage sponge, but otherwise, it's not super useful once you kind of get the hang of the game and know what to avoid and where to get armor. I think it's deserving of at least a B tier, but that's pretty much it. Oh my god, it's finally over. My head is hurting, bro. 17 whole classes. My god. Here it is, though, the final tier list, which I hope is much more to your liking than my previous one. If you disagree with anything on this list, make sure to leave your criticisms in the comments where they'll be promptly ignored. But if you did like the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going for 300,000 subs this year, and we're getting closer and closer by the day. And of course, consider becoming a channel member like these incredible people up on screen right now. But hey, at the very least, check out these other videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like up on screen right now. Have a great rest of your day, dudes. Peace.